Hello again, my dear grade 5 students. How are you? I miss you all. And then this lecture is the beginning of semester 3. Okay, I hope that you have had a beautiful week, which was off, you had a rest, you refreshed your minds, you spent time with your families, and now it's time to go back for studying. Are you ready? Okay, so guys, I'm not going to overload you with lots of objectives, so we're going just to cover one grammar objective for this week. Okay, so guys, we're going to cover the complex sentences this week, and I have to remind you of something that starting from now on, semesters 3 and 4, the grammar lessons and plus the phonics lessons are found in booklets part 2. So for the grammar, you have grammar booklet part 2. This grammar booklet is for semesters 3 and 4. And later on in the phonics, you're going also to have or to cover the lessons that are in phonics booklet part 2 also. So guys, this is lesson 1 from grammar booklet part 2, complex sentences, and it starts on page 3. So please guys, you are responsible for the booklets. The objectives for this lesson, you have to recognize a complex sentence, you have to differentiate between simple, compound, and complex sentences, and also you have to use subordinating conjunctions to join sentences to form complex ones. Okay, let's start. First of all, what are complex sentences? Complex sentences are used to express complex ideas, but how? We have complex ideas joined together, so we have to put them in complex sentences. How do we show or express these complex ideas? We show how ideas and or events are related to each other, or we provide extra information about certain words or phrases. Okay, so either you're showing how ideas are related to each other, or you're adding information, you're showing or providing extra information about other words or phrases. So a complex sentence consists of a main clause and one or more subordinate clauses. I'm going to explain what we mean by main clause and subordinating clauses later. So you have to know first that the complex sentence expresses a complex ideas that are related to each other in a certain way, or adding more information about a certain word or phrase. And you have to know that the complex sentence consists of a main clause and a subordinating clause. First of all, let's start with the clauses. We have to know what we mean by clauses. What is a clause? First of all, a clause has a subject, and a clause is a single idea or event. So the clause shows us or has a subject and it shows us a single idea or event. Example, the knight killed the dragon. So simply we can say that the clause is a simple sentence. One clause equal one simple sentence. Also, the clause has only one verb or verb chain, okay? It has only one verb. The knight killed the dragon. Okay, here I have one verb in this clause or in this simple sentence. And also a clause can contain further details. It can contain more details. Okay? So here in the first example, the knight killed the dragon, we have a subject, the knight, we have a verb, killed, and we have one single idea, killed the dragon. Okay, so it makes one clause or sentence. Okay, what do we mean by subordinate and main clauses now? Let's see the difference between subordinate and main clauses, or in other words, we call them dependent and independent clauses. What do we call them? Dependent for the subordinate and independent clause for the main clause. So the subordinate clause is called dependent and the main clause is called independent. Why? The independent clause is something that you have covered before. We use it in the compound sentences. We said that two independent clauses join together, blah blah blah. Okay, but the independent clause can stand alone. It can give us a complete idea by itself, and it has a subject and a predicate. While the dependent clause, from its name dependent, this means that it depends on something else. It needs something else to help it. Okay, it cannot stand alone. It's like a baby, and it doesn't give you a complete idea. Let's have these examples. When he killed the dragon, the knight felt strangely sad because it had been a mighty beast. Take the first part, when he killed the dragon, alone. when he killed the dragon. Okay, I have a subject, I have a verb, but here this clause, we feel that it's missing something. It doesn't give us the complete idea. So it feels that it's missing something. We cannot consider it an independent clause. No, it needs something else to be completed. That's right. So since we said it needs something else to be completed, so it depends on something else. So it's called a dependent clause, or we call it subordinate clause. Continue. The night felt strangely sad. The night felt strangely sad. It has a complete idea. It has a subject. It has a verb, a predicate, and it gives us a complete idea. It can stand alone. So it is called an independent clause, or we call it main clause. Okay. The third part, because it had been a mighty beast, it does the same as the first part when he killed the dragon. So it has a subject, it has a predicate, but it doesn't have a complete idea, and we feel that it's missing something. So it's not an independent clause, it's not a main clause, it's a subordinate clause or a dependent clause, we call it. So the subordinate clause is called a dependent clause. It expresses one idea or event, but doesn't make sense on its own. No, it doesn't make sense on its own. Okay, and it needs a main clause to complete sense. It needs the help of the main clause. While the main clause, the independent clause, it expresses one idea or event, and it makes sense on its own. It can stand alone. Okay, it could be a simple sentence. So the subordinate clauses or the dependent clauses, they express one ideas, but they do not express it completely. No, they don't make sense on their own. They are like babies. They need help from others, and they need main clauses to complete them. So the main clause is called the independent clause. It expresses one idea or event, and it makes sense on its own. It could be simple sentence. Simply, a complex sentence, as a sum up, we can say a complex sentence combines both an independent and a dependent clause, but how it combines them? Using a subordinating conjunction. We're going to talk in details about the subordinating conjunctions. So the complex sentence, in the complex sentence we find a dependent and independent clause joined together with a subordinating conjunction, and there is something you have to know, that the subordinating conjunction is found in the dependent clause. Let's take the examples. Although I was tired, I studied for the test, or we can write it vice versa. I studied for the test although I was tired. Okay, so although I was tired, this is the first part. If you read it alone, although I was tired, it doesn't make sense on its own, and it doesn't give a complete idea. And we have although, it starts with although, or here in the second example, although I was tired. So they don't make sense. They are called dependent clauses. The second part, I studied for the test. I studied for the test. Okay, it makes sense on its own. It gives a complete idea. Then it's called independent clause. Okay, so you see, the complex sentence combines a dependent and independent clause using a subordinating conjunction. What are subordinating conjunctions? Many dependent clauses begin with a subordinating conjunction, also known as a dependent word. We can call it dependent word. Subordinate means secondary. It's not main, it's secondary. Okay, so subordinating conjunctions are words that introduce secondary ideas. They add ideas. Okay, they don't introduce main ideas. No, they introduce secondary ideas. Examples of these subordinating conjunctions like because, since, when, while, although, even though, if, as, whereas, until, unless, whenever, wherever, after, before, and more and more and more subordinating conjunctions we have, but I mentioned the most common subordinating conjunctions for you. The subordinating conjunctions create a relationship between clauses, so they must be used properly. So you see, if you remember, we said that the complex sentences express complex ideas, ideas that are related to each other in certain ways. So the subordinating conjunctions help to create this relationship and to show how ideas are related to each other. Now, there's something that's very important we have to pay attention to in complex sentences, which is the punctuation. Punctuating with dependent clauses and subordinating conjunctions. When a dependent clause that begins with a subordinating conjunction falls at the beginning of the sentence, put a comma after the clause, after the dependent clause. It acts as an introductory clause. When it falls at the end, no comma is needed. How? Let's see. Because I didn't study, comma, I didn't pass the exam. If you notice that we started with the dependent clause, the subordinated clause that has the subordinating conjunction, we started with it. So after it, I have to add a comma. Because I didn't study, I didn't pass the exam. But if you start with the independent clause, I didn't pass the exam, then there is no need to add a comma. I didn't pass the exam because I didn't study. Okay, so you see, when you start with the dependent clause, with the clause that has the subordinating conjunction, then you have to add a comma. But when you start with the independent clause, there is no need to add a comma after the independent clause. And let's now practice a little bit. Identify whether the sentences are simple, compound, or complex. Okay, as you remember, or as we explained before, that the simple sentence is one independent clause. The compound sentence is two or more independent clauses joined with one of the coordinating conjunctions, the fanboys and the comma or a semicolon. And the complex sentence is one independent clause and one dependent clause joined together with a subordinating conjunction. Let's see. I love to read. I love to read. It's a simple sentence. One idea, one subject, one predicate. So it is one independent clause. It's a simple sentence. Number 2. After the movie, we went all out for pizza. After the movie, we went all out for pizza. Okay? So after the movie is a clause. We went all out for pizza is another clause. We went all out for pizza. It makes a sense. It's an independent clause. Let's see the second one. After the movie. What happened after the movie? Okay, this is not a complete sentence. Pay attention. Okay, this is not a complete sentence here. Here it's a phrase that shows time after the movie. So here we cannot consider it a clause. So see, pay attention. After the movie, we went all out for pizza. This is also a simple sentence. It has only one idea. It's one independent clause. We ran home and ate dinner. We ran home and ate dinner. Okay, we ran home and ate dinner is also a simple sentence. Yeah, it has compound predicate here, not a compound sentence. 4. Vampire Diaries is my favorite television show, but I also love True Blood. Vampire Diaries is my favorite television show is the first independent clause. I also love True Blood is also another independent clause, and here I have a fanboy with a comma, so then it makes a compound sentence. 5. Wherever they are, it is far from here. Wherever they are. I have a subject, a predicate with a subordinating conjunction, and this clause doesn't make sense, then it is a subordinated clause or a dependent clause. It is far from here, it makes sense alone, then it is a there is an independent clause. So here in number 5 I have a dependent and I have an independent clause. I have a subordinating conjunction, then it makes a complex sentence. Complex. I will put X here. Compound, CN. 6. She had a funny birthday party. Simple sentence. Simply. 7. We packed our luggage and we waited for the taxi to arrive. We packed our luggage. Okay, it makes sense alone. It's an independent clause. We waited for the taxi to arrive and we waited for the taxi to arrive. It's another independent clause. We have and, the fanboy, and a comma. Then it makes a compound sentence. The last one, although she was smart, she didn't understand the problem. She didn't understand the problem. It makes sense alone, but although she was smart, it doesn't make sense alone, and although is a subordinating conjunction, then here we have to say that we have a complex sentence that is made up of a dependent and independent clause joined together with a subordinating conjunction. Guys, this exercise is in page 11 in the booklet, okay? So we have reached the end of our lecture for this week. I hope everything is clear for you. If you still have any questions, leave them for the live session so we can discuss them together and we solve the rest of the exercises, all of us together. Okay, stay safe and bye bye.